Dear patrons, howdy. Our next company is a name that doesn't really need an introduction. Ever since first presenting at the LD Micro Invitational back in June of 2018, Esports Entertainment Group, ticker GMBL, has been busy building out and acquiring companies with the goal of esports supremacy. Joining us on the call today is a man that could probably destroy me in an arm wrestling competition, or anything physical for that matter, CEO Mr. Grant Johnson. Grant, I know that you guys have been extremely active over the past year and appreciate you spending time with our community today. Thank you again. The floor is now yours.
Thank you, Chris. As Chris mentioned, the name of our company is Esports Entertainment Group. We do trade on the NASDAQ under the symbol GMBL for Gmbl. So there's our forward-looking statements, just cover everything. Company background. Well, as Chris mentioned, we've been doing this for a while. It culminated in an IPO onto the NASDAQ last year, April, but the journey started long before that. Back in 2014, I attended my first esports championship. It was a StarCraft championship, and it was at that point in time that I recognized the potential in esports. My background in online gaming goes back to the 90s, and I had a preconceived idea that esports was basically teenagers in basements, and nothing could be further from the truth. And of course, now esports has gone mainstream. In our, on the market side, of course, this moves frequently, but outstanding shares were sitting around 19 million. You can see the stats trading about $16 a share with an average 1.5, 1.6 million shares a day trading. On our acquisitions, since the IPO, we acquired Argyle Entertainment, which brought with it a sportsbook platform, bringing an Irish license and a UK license. So here you can see on the screen the market cap and outstanding shares. Recent acquisitions: Esports Gaming League, the EGL. You've seen this in the news frequently. In fact, this sports teams right here behind me, they're running branded tournaments for their fans on that platform, where the fans are playing for prizes of those teams. I'll get more into that as we get into the presentation here. Lucky Dino Casino was just last week. That was a $30 million acquisition that brought with it roughly 30 million in revenues and 4 million EBITDA, be 5 million forecasted for next year EBITDA. This gives us access into the Nordic markets, as well as gives us cross-marketing opportunities between Argyle, Lucky Dino, and Vi to cross-market with each other. GG Circuit Helix is what is coming in the next few weeks. And that brings with it a number of the titles you're seeing over here. Helix are some of the largest LAN centers in the United States. Most pertinent for us is they have a center in Patriot Place. That is representing the model that we're working with and moving forward with the pro teams. We can't click this forward here. Okay. So esports, for those of you who haven't heard, it's effectively just professional video game play where teams and individuals are playing against each other for cash prizes. Now, during COVID-19, it has affected everybody on the planet, of course. It has accelerated the growth of esports. We saw last year when pro sports were shut down, a large number of individuals got their entertainment by shifting to virtual titles. In fact, we saw the NBA 2K broadcast on network TV just this past year. We also learned, because we own a sports book, that people who do bet on sportsbook will bet on esports. They tend to bet on the titles that they're familiar with. Madden, 2K, FIFA, etc. are the largest of those. But you have a huge global community of gamers, 2.5 billion, and some put the estimates as high as 3.5 billion. In there, the segment that are esports fans, that's traditionally reserved for League of Legends, Dota, Counter-Strike. but because we offer the broader array, we can tap into that larger 2.5 billion fan base. So the fan base is overwhelmingly millennials, 18 to 35-year-olds, a very coveted group for sponsorship and marketing, which does also bode well for our tournament platforms. And in terms of the growing size, as you can see in the graphs below, the market is not tapering off; it's certainly accelerating. And the preconceived idea that it's all young teenagers, as you can see, that only represents 15% of the market. The bulk of the market is 18 to 34 overwhelmingly. So our strategy is customer focused. We want to turn basically every gamer into a bettor, bettors in esports into bettors in sports, bettors in sports into esports bettors. So cross marketing and accelerating our growth, and of course returning the highest value to our shareholders. So how we're growing? Well, we have a very aggressive M&A strategy, which is evidenced by these logos here behind me. We acquire companies that already have gamers. EGL had 350,000 of them. GG Circuit has 2 million of them. Helix has 6,000 people a week going through their centers. And traditional bettors, sportsbook casinos. On the Argyle platform, there was 100,000 registered accounts. Lucky Dino is roughly double that. And then we synergize these by cross-marketing, cross-selling between them. Clearly it's a simple cross-sell from casino to sportsbook. We've also learned through COVID that it's also a very lucrative cross-sell from sportsbook to certain esports titles. So we introduce, and on the side of EGL, GG Circuit, Helix, we're introducing gambling to a huge community of people who are already avid gamers. So and the last piece is integration. Of course, with our strategy, I shouldn't say of course, but our strategy includes we want to control the technology, which is why we bought Flip. So the Buy GG platform, which will be launching in New Jersey, it's 100% owned by us. It's our software. That will be the first licensed esports gambling website, dedicated website in the United States when it launches. Lucky Dino, we own that platform. GG Circuit is by far the largest platform of its kind running LAN centers. In the world, there's over 1,000 LAN centers and 2 million people use their software. This allows us to cross-market much more efficiently. So with our acquisition, clearly M&A is a proven strategy for acquiring large pools of customers. To give a underpin that first line there, when we acquired Lucky Dino for 30 million, there was a similar transaction that took place last fall with GAN, I believe, was bought a similar sized operator. They paid 6 times revenues. We paid 6 times EBITDA. So just a little bit more efficient. And part of that comes from, I've got 25 years background in the sector. We've got a lot of contacts in the sector. And we of course are using all these assets to accelerate the growth here. We cross market casino sportsbooks again. We acquire the EEG strategy encompasses taking all of these assets, cross-marketing, but each of them have their standalone revenues. EGL was already a profitable business. Sports Nation, profitable business. Lucky Dino, profitable business. GG Circuit, profitable business. Now we market them across each other and just accelerate that growth. On the gamer side, the Esport Gaming League, a 10-year-old business, 350,000 people. GG Circuit, more than 10 years old, 2 million users. LanDuel is a new innovative product which will be launching in New Jersey. It's a PvP betting platform. By GG, we have thousands, and that's growing by the hour as the first esport gambling platform being launched in the US. We also run it off our Malta license, and it has 149 jurisdictions marketing currently. Helix centers, there's 5 of them. 2 of them are 2 of the biggest centers in the United States. The one at the highest profile is at Patriot Place. On the traditional betting side, again, Lucky Dino, Sport Nation, and Red Zone. Red Zone, Sports Nation are not only UK and Ireland licensed, but we have them. We also migrated them onto our Malta license, so they can also market into 149 some odd jurisdictions. Lucky Dino brings, outside of being marketed out of Malta, it has a good concentration of players up in Finland, which is a big esports market. So all these pieces work together for, we gain a lot of efficiencies by cross-marketing. So our approach here is to make it as simple as I possibly can. Play, watch, bet. And I'm going to dive into that a little bit better here. But, we want, when we acquire customers, we want to keep them inside of our network of companies. So whether, whatever platform, wherever they come from, the key is to keep them. We don't, if they're not happy with a particular service, or if they just want to watch, if they want to play, again, if they want to bet, they want to do casino, they want to do sports book, they want to do some sports book and esports, we've got a product for them. So here's how we go about doing that. Now we're expanding on our content marketing. We're about to launch a new channel. We do stream on Twitch, YouTube. We have original content that we create. Our buyesports.com site is some of that content. We're investing heavily in that sector right now, which you will see shortly. We do live shows, live streams, write articles, news articles, social media. We have the centers, of course, which are the Helix centers, and with all the pro teams that'll be creating a huge array of additional new content. So the key here is we want to multiply by, once we acquire the fans, we want to keep them on the various sites, and we want to maximize the revenue we get. And of course, we do this by making sure that there's something there for them to stay and to continue wagering or playing on our sites. And again, the cornerstone of this is going to be the content. So on the play, watch, bet. So again, esports, originally people had a very preconceived idea of it being a small group in people's basements. Couldn't be further from the truth. Effectively, what we've learned is at some level, almost everybody's a gamer, whether you're on your mobile, whether you're on your console, whether you're on your computer. I suspect everybody who's watching here at some point in time plays some sort of a video game. So if you want to esports play, okay, so we have 3 different titles that addresses this issue. If you're in the leagues, the Overwatch League, the Call of Duty League, Counter-Strike, etc., those major events are on Vi.bet in Malta, Vi.gg in New Jersey. Tournament play, which is where these big brands here will be on there, but also we've hosted Red Bull, etc. That's on the Esport Gaming League. That's the 10-year-old platform. And to play in local centers, that's at Helix, and we will be expanding those Helix centers into these other gaming venues. Currently, the only one in a sports arena is at Patriot Place, but there'll be additional news on that in the very near future. So we integrate all the technology, the Esport Gaming League and GG Circuit, and that helps bring both the competitive and the casual gaming, experience, whichever you want, and we can culminate that. You can participate online, again with EGL, or we can bring you into the centers. You can you come in yourself, you bring in other teams, or the tournaments that we're running. Again, we bring those back into physical locations, so you've got that tactile experience. It's not just a complete online play. On the watch, as mentioned, content is certainly key, and it's at the heart of our ability to acquire companies. And it's really a combination of elements. As mentioned, we have the esports.com. We do live streaming through a number of different streaming platforms, and of course our physical centers. So this element here is, again, there's a imminent news in this front, but we continue to invest in key talent and assets that continue to add to this content that is so critical in the further growth and making our strategic advantage over competitors in the space that may just be a pure betting site or a tournament site, or maybe they offer some physical or run a physical facility. We pull it all together and we cross market amongst all these different categories. Gambling, well, that's what we started. The symbol is Gmbl. We are a gambling company, so we can, through our betting methodology, you can bet on events, which are on the vi.gg and vi.bet. Sport betting, that's on the Argyle and Red Zone. Player versus player betting, which is the LandDuel product. This is unique. Nobody else has a product like this. It's being developed with both the Gaming Commission and the publishers are involved in this process. We'll be launching this Memorial Day or close to Memorial Day in the state of New Jersey. We have casino game betting on our Lucky Dino platform, which we own, and fantasy betting, which is going to be on the new ViGG platform coming this spring. So, our code name for our software is Phoenix, because it's being relaunched, and this, lessons learned from 2014 through today about esports fans and how they bet are all culminating in the relaunch of this product. And of course, we're going to integrate and cross market between all the. I keep reiterating that because it's important. Our ability to cross market across casino, sportsbook, esports, and the LandDuel product. This creates a whole new set of cross marketing opportunities, which I'm going to get into here shortly. Data and infrastructure up on this side here, there's two key components. That's the GG Circuit and Genji Analytics. That allows us to track how basically everything that happens on any of the sites, how people bet, how they play, where they watch, how often they watch, what titles they watch. That helps us clearly tailor the product offering to what the consumer wants. Data infrastructure is key to everything. It helps us, create tighter lines for the ViGG and the vi.bet on esports betting. It again helps us track who's logging on, how often, when they play, what games they play, who's on the tournaments, how many people, what titles, how they play in those tournaments, so we can anticipate their gameplay, what games they want. And again, it creates cross-selling opportunities. So because we've pulled together this wide array of companies here, that opens up two new verticals for us. One, you can see over the shoulder here, it allows us to approach the pro sports teams. We're a natural partner for them. Pro sports teams, of course, were struck very, as anybody in the entertainment business or hospitality industry, with COVID, where they could not have fans in the stands. And fans are what the team's all about. That's where all the revenue comes from. So clearly, the fans are critical to the teams, and the teams are very aware of this. These platforms are for the fans, giving the fans an opportunity to play against each other for prizes of the teams. And we offer the solution for them. That's step one, getting in the tournaments. Step two, like we have at the Patriot Place, is having that physical esports lounge. Why that's important? The sports teams, they're in the entertainment business. They want that millennial Gen Z traffic. They're not getting it in the same numbers they historically did. The solution is esports. So after we put the tournaments online, we have also initiated discussions about putting the physical esports lounges in their stadiums. Excuse me. And then, of course, as certain states and as certain teams are prepared to allow it, the LANDuel product can be put on those gaming servers, so fans can, on a skill betting basis in states where it's allowed. Currently, it's 41 states where they can bet against each other. Maybe more exciting than that, is more practical, is in the land-based casino marketplace. As I suspect most people here recognize that casinos have been investigating how esports fits into the offering the casinos have. How do they get that millennial traffic back in the casino? The answer is esports. The question is, how do you get that esports traffic in? It's one thing to host an event. Yes, the esports fans will come see that event at the casino, but then they leave because there's nothing else at the casino for that fan base. By working with us, we can integrate the online, have a Vibe product, EGL product online, drive people into the physical casinos with the Helix, LANDuel, GG Circuit expertise. We know how to set up the in-casino facilities that will attract and keep the esport fan, and then you put the LANDuel product on there, so you've got the gambling, the betting component that we can offer. So literally, we're the only natural partner for casinos. They could replicate this by dealing with 4 or 5 separate other operators, but then they'd have to try and figure out how those operators would work together to integrate the services, and they still wouldn't have the LANDuel product. So for traditional sports teams and casinos, these 2 new verticals, we're a natural B2B partner for them. And that also is part of our strategy, clearly. On the financial side, fiscal 21, our guidance that we've given, our fiscal ends June 30th. This year, 18 million is what we're forecasting. This doesn't call into account any synergies we're going to gain. This is just on the numbers from the acquisitions. Fiscal 22, we're forecasting 70 million. Now, we do expect to be EBITDA positive in 2022. However, the reason the asterisk there is that we are also going to continue our aggressive growth strategy. Where we sit in comparison to others in our space, even though we've enjoyed some lift recently, we're still roughly about 4 times revenues 2022. The average in our market is, well, if we pull in some skills and DraftKings, that does drive the average up to 15, but the median being 10 to 11 times. So there still is, we believe, we're extremely undervalued. And part of that's just we've been spending so much time pulling the pieces together. We're now really driving that messaging out to the marketplace. So we do expect that to be reflected in the not distant future in the markets. So in summary, we have a completely unique value proposition. We have the only vertically integrated product offering for obviously the gamer audience, traditional sports and casino. Again, allow them to play, watch, or bet from anywhere, from home, in centers, online streaming. We magnify and multiply the value of every customer. And because of our host of companies, we have a unique opportunity in B2B with casinos and the major league sports franchises that the other would-be competitors do not offer. On our team, of course, there's me again, Dan Marks, 18 years in financial operations. We worked with Barclays, HSBC. More importantly, Dan was one of the founders and the CFO of a gambling company. Part of he came along with the Argyle acquisition. We're happy to have him. He heads up the financial team. Stuart Tilley, he's been in the gaming gambling business since 2005 and was the founder of Flip, which we acquired. Obviously, he's also the founder of Argyle. And Dan and Stuart head up our M&A team. and bring a wealth of gambling knowledge, and in Stuart's case specifically as it pertains to legal and compliance. John Brackens, CIO, CTO, he got pedigree from Blizzard Activision, which is as good as it gets in the gaming business, but also has experience in the gambling business with Spark Jumpers Game Studio. He's based in our Malta office. Magnus Lipaniemi, he's our head of esports, EVP of esports. He's been in the esports sector since 1996, and in fact spearheaded DreamHack's expansion into the North American markets. And Jeff Cohn, he joins us from Stevens Bank. He is or was an esports and video game analyst and joins our team. He's got a background from Harvard and Columbia. So that rounds out a number. There's a huge number of people. It would take too long to go through it here. We've gone from about 11 to over 100, and that is growing rapidly. So Jeff is our contact, your main contact. Jeff at Esports Entertainment Group. I am open to answering questions. Chris.
Grant, thank you again for the presentation. We have a lot of questions. So what I want to do is tell everyone that you need to practice a little bit of patience, and we're going to go through them one by one. There are several ways that you guys can ask a question. You can email me at chris@ldmicro.com. You can use the chat room that we have available on Zoom, and you can also use the Q&A side. So let's get right through it. Okay, Grant, are you ready?
As good as I'm going to get, yeah.
Excellent. So I actually thought this was a pretty fascinating question. What designates something as being considered an e-sport?
A fair question, and it depends who you ask. You'll get a different answer. Technically, the generic definition would be competitive video game play for a prize. So if we're playing for money or playing for a jersey, and we're playing a video game in a sense or online on a phone, that qualifies. The traditional definition of the esports is with the bigger titles, Dota, League of Legends, Counter-Strike. Those would be the three biggest. Fortnite is also one of probably the best known, certainly in the States, from Epic. There's Valorant, Rainbow. Those are the traditional esports. The titles that the teams over here are more interested in are more the virtual titles or console titles, Madden, 2K, Call of Duty, etc. Those also qualify, but as I say, it depends who you ask. You'll get a different definition, but as long as two people are engaging in a competitive nature for a prize, that qualifies as an esport.
Got it. And in terms, I don't know if you know this, but this question was asked, in terms of number of dollars spent gambling, what is the biggest game in the world today?
On gambling in Europe, it'd be CSGO would be the top bet title, I would say. And these numbers change. In Asia, you're probably more on the Dota, League of Legends titles. When you're talking crossover from sports fans to video game titles, then it starts to go towards the virtual titles, the FIFA, 2K. That would be the top in that category. So it really depends on who the client is and the geographic region, because it does change from region to region, title to title. But that right there gives you a pretty decent sense of things.
I trust that my favorite game, Super Mario Kart, does not make the top 10 for esports.
It doesn't make the top 10 on that list, but in terms of players, it would definitely be up there.
Well, I was going to say, for anyone who wants to trash talk me, Super Mario and Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition, kind of like my last stops before, my dad basically told me that I had to leave the house and get a job. So apologies on that, but I have a young one at home, so it will be making a comeback in my household shortly.
And Mario Karts, who doesn't like it?
Next question is, how many companies have you guys acquired since you began?
Since we began, well, Sport Nation, which is Argyle, Flip, EGL, Lucky Dino. So those four are complete. The GG Circuit, Helix, and Genji is going in through as a single transaction. We're just waiting for the audit to complete, which we anticipate that'll be between now and the end of April. And that will bring the total to 7.
When purchasing companies, are the deals done mostly in cash, stock, or both?
Both. Some of them, I should have also added, I think I had Flip in there, but the last transaction, Lucky Done, it was all cash. Sport Nation or Argyle was a combination. EGL was a combination. Helix, Genji, GG will be, again, a combination.
Roger that. And then we have, how have valuations changed on the purchasing front?
Well, evaluations, it really depends on, a number of factors. When you're talking about valuations in the traditional iGaming space, it's generally 5 to 6 times EBITDA. However, that's not necessarily always the case. Sometimes you have a large operator that they own their own tech, or they have a unique offering in a particular region, and they can command a higher multiple, maybe 8, 9 times. In esports, it's a bit different. Esports, it kind of comes down to, do you need it? Does it bring something unique? For us, EGL, Helix, GG Circuit, etc., they all bring something unique. It's the software, it's the clients. So they have a tendency of having a higher valuation, or sometimes the valuation is more on the future potential, because esports is still a fairly young industry, and you don't have the years of examples to point at, and you don't have, and EBITDA is a very rare commodity when it comes to esports products. So it's not so much what they have, it's what we can do with it when we get it. And that's a big factor. Is the technology something we can accelerate our growth by using it? And that comes into all of our discussions when we're talking about esports entities.
Roger. And then this is the last M&A question. Any comment on Super League Gaming, ticker SLGG, purchasing Mob Crush this morning?
I probably read it the same as most people, with a little bit of surprise and confusion, but hey, everybody's got their own business plan that they're executing on. I'm not sure who's the winner and who's the loser there. It's not I'm not a big fan of the transaction, but again, it's not my company.
Respect. If esports was a baseball game, what inning would you guys be in right now, and why?
Gosh, I would say just going into the second inning, because everybody now knows the game's being played. They're starting to recognize and understand the players in the game, but it's, we're talking an industry that's only been mainstream, we'll be generous here and say 24 months. It doesn't mean it hasn't been around for quite a long time. I mean, the video game industry itself is bigger than the movie and the music industry combined. It's huge. However, in terms of people recognizing and taking it seriously as an industry, and seeing it and recognizing the fans are not children. As I showed you from the graph there, the bulk of the fan base is in the 20s and 30s overwhelmingly. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, unless you're in retirement homes, that demographic is the coveted demographic, irrespective of what your product is. Right. So this is the industry that's going to continue to garner growing attention, no question.
And the next question is, I've noticed that ESPN is now following esports. Do you feel that other big publications will be joining in due time?
Absolutely. I mean, let's face it, esports, like sports, it's entertainment. And if you're in an industry that is broadcasting entertainment, following entertainment, how can you not follow an industry that has, if we just take the esports fans, has a hardcore fan base of 500 million fans, but a much broader, if you include the console gamers, of 2.5 to 3.5 billion fans. How can you ignore that if you're in the entertainment space? If you're, whether you're Coke, Pepsi, McDonald's, doesn't matter what product you're selling, you're targeting this demographic, you're targeting this market. If you're ESPN, TSN, Fox Sports, how can you ignore 2.5 billion eyeballs? You can't. Particularly if it doesn't drive it home, these guys, which we'll call that the smart money when it comes to sports entertainment, they're investing tens of millions of dollars in this sector.
Have you disclosed some of the metrics of the people gambling within your offerings as of today? Age, net worth, number of bets, etc.
Have we disclosed it? No.
Yes. Okay.
We're not going to release that information. But we do analyze that, and that, in fact, that speaks specifically to why we're so excited about the Genji analytics, because we'll be able to, gather and track information: who's gambling, where they're coming from, how frequently, what titles, how much. That helps us tailor the product that we're offering. And if we're going to be adding additional forms of betting, like the YGG platform, what we have learned, what we do know, the sports fan and the esports fan bet very differently. Sport fan, it's not uncommon for a sports fan to lay $100 or $1,000 or more on a match. The esports fan has a tendency of preferring micro bets, but more frequent bets. Who's going to get the next kill? $1, $2, $5. Who's going to win the match? $1, $5, etc. Is he, is simply yes, no, quick bets, and all of that is going to be integrated and is on the YGG platform, launching in New Jersey in the next, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks.
Grant, have you guys disclosed what CapEx is going to look like this year?
The only numbers we've disclosed are the guidance we've given to date. We're still, Dan and Jeff and the finance team are still working through. Lucky Dino transactions just took place a week ago, so we're still digesting and gathering up a lot of that information and working through our models. So we'll have all this certainly by our fiscal year end.
Outside of acquisitions, where's the bulk of the money being spent on? Where's the bulk of the money being spent internally?
I would, outside of just staff overhead, the biggest spend will be on marketing and expansion. We're right now we're marketing the Latin American markets. We're tracking extremely well there. When we launch in New Jersey, we will be allocating fairly substantial amount of spend and building up of the Vi platform there. With the teams here, of course, that falls under the marketing, to gather this rights. So I would say here with the pro teams and marketing the gambling platforms in the Latin American markets right now is where we're focused.
And then what do you guys look for when it comes to establishing partnerships?
Well, currently in the ones that are the highest profile, these partners over my shoulder, the branding is beyond reproach, the pedigree. I mean, these are the biggest brands in North America in the sporting industry. These are not all the conversations. These are the first conversations that have culminated in an agreement, but there's at least several dozen similar conversations taking place that we expect to announce in the months to come.
Awesome. So now we're going to go into the chat feature. Let's see what type of comments and questions there are. Wazir Adam, Gmbl to Mars. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that's always a positive sign. Let's see. Michael, when acquiring users, what are the switching cost barriers that ensure they don't just migrate to the next hot thing? Thank you, Michael, for the question.
Well, that's a fair question. When we're looking at in the iGaming space, like Lucky Dino, because that's the most recent acquisition. Lucky Dino showed double-digit year-upon-year growth, growing EBITDA, growing revenues. They own their platform, so that was kind of fell in that no-brainer category. where the big risk comes in M&A work, is everybody who's done it, when you have to migrate people from one platform to another platform, that can be a bit of a tricky process, and can, we haven't encountered that yet. We will be, as we acquire another sports book or another casino where we're migrating from one platform to another. But it has to be done over time. It takes, I think the experts would all agree, about 18 months to be done properly, maybe 24 months to be done properly. On the esports side, all the esports assets we're acquiring bring with them something unique and different. So we're not losing them to anybody else. That doesn't mean you can't lose. Clients, players, tastes change, but that comes back to my presentation. That's why we, offer the broad array. If they're leaving one platform to go to somewhere else, we want to make sure that we have that product for them. That brings me fully back to the GG circuit. Where are they going? Where are they paying their attention? What are they betting, playing, etc. So we can continually modify and hone our products to make sure that they are what the customers want. Because if it's not what the customers want, that's when you got trouble.
Next question from another Michael. Are you looking at acquiring more companies that fit into the vertical integration? Conversely, are discussions being had with larger companies inquiring about acquiring Gmbl? Yeah.
That's come up a lot lately, as we all know. There's been some rumors floating around out there.
I read some, yes. That's a sensitive topic, absolutely.
Yeah. Listen, yes, we are continuing on a very aggressive M&A and a very aggressive marketing. There will be more logos on this side and more logos on this side. That's going to happen. We have a full pipe in both categories. Have we received from overtures? The story that's circulating out there, that particular conversation hasn't taken place. We know that company, they know us, we've had conversations. Can we help that company? Yes, 100% we can help that company. Have we had an offer? No.
Respect. For EEG play, are these services and platforms catered towards gamers of all skill levels, or is it for the very experienced esport competitors who already have brand sponsorships and the like?
Well, the tournaments over here with the pro teams, these tournaments are dedicated to their fans. That doesn't mean that somebody else couldn't join and play in the tournament. That probably will happen. The Genji Analytics package allows us to help put people into skill categories. In the esports, it's referred to as smurfing, where a top level player will come in and sort of beat up on lesser players. The Genji Analytics software helps us target in on them very quickly and make sure that people are properly seeded, so that you don't have exactly what you're talking about, where somebody comes in and just wins all the prizes because they're just better. We migrate the people who are of a higher skill level to a more difficult bracket.
And which are the next states you see Gmbl entering, if you can comment on that?
We have discussions on 2 other states currently. Now there's 2 topics here. On the Esport Gaming League, the states we move into are going to be driven by these relationships with the pro teams. Tournaments for monetary prizes for the over 18 crowd we're getting our own legal opinion, but currently are acceptable in 41 states. So we plan to be in all 41 states in the very near future, probably by the end of this calendar year. From a gambling standpoint, that's a bit of a different conversation. The current reality is you have to have a skin in order to be doing online gambling. And that's only because the regulatory bodies just lumped esports in with sports. The reason skins exist is so that if an online operator was coming into a state where they had land-based casinos who've been paying taxes, have built infrastructure in the states, the concern was the online operators would cannibalize that operator. And there's some truth to that. So the gaming commissions imposed or allowed the casinos to have skins that they could lease or sell to online operators. What we're seeing is happening, and it's happening increasingly in states, and we're involved in some of these conversations, is esports is probably going to be uncoupled in several of the states because it hinders innovation coming into the states if you force operators to pay the land-based casinos. We believe the majority of the states, when they bring their esports gaming regs in, will have an eye on trying to bring innovation into that state. Some of our conversations are specifically on this topic with the gaming commissions. And we anticipate in the future that esports will be uncoupled because the casinos don't offer esports, so we're not cannibalizing anybody's business. We do want to partner with the casinos, and we're happy to do so. But in the going forward, I believe strongly that the states will uncouple it.
So let me give you the good news and the bad news. The good news is the questions still keep coming in. The bad news is we have about 8 minutes left. So let's kind of do a rapid session. Peter, thank you for the questions. Let's just go right through these. At Helix, can you just go and watch for free X food and beverage and betting, or are these locations for players only?
No, you can go and watch for free.
Got it. Will Helix be the will Helix be the future sports book? I don't know what that question is.
No, we see Helix being integrated into casinos, which will, yes, that question, but as standalone sports books, the Helix aren't going to be licensed gambling centers.
Are there things for non-gamers to do at Helix if you're going as a group event?
Yeah, food, bev, you can have a beer, get some chicken wings, you can watch people, you can play Mario Karts.
Yeah.
If you want. You don't have to be playing Dota or League of Legends. It's for all levels, all skill levels.
I'm a simple guy, a German beer and Game Boy with Tetris, and I'm probably pretty good for the next few hours.
You're talking Helix. There you go.
Potential competition from Dave and Buster's.
Well, that's a bit of a different different business model. There's some crossover with Helix, but their focus is food that has kind of an arcade element to it. Where at Helix, the focus is on the gaming, and the food and bev is, it's the reverse business model.
On the B&B offering, is there a potential offering for large sports bars? Is that a potential target?
Yes, we've already had a conversation with a chain, and we'd be happy to have more of them.
Have all the acquisitions been accretive? If so, do you anticipate that will continue?
It is a primary focus. Certainly when we talk iGaming, the answer to that is yes. The combination GG Circuit, Helix, Genji, that will be cash flow positive by the end of 2022.
Matt, thank you for the question. What are your guys' plans for advertising to new users who are already engaged in esports but do not know about your platform?
Again, that's an ongoing process, which kind of speaks to why specifically we're talking with the pro teams, because they have that close relationship. When it comes to esports, we've done and will continue to do a myriad of different marketing options. As you probably are aware, we sponsored the Legends tournament last fall, which in fact was the first esports event to be allowed to be wagered on in a casino in North America, in Atlantic City. We have a sponsorship with Designates, which is Hair Splitzer's esports brand. We continue to explore. We're, as a matter of fact, doing a project with Liquid and Designates together. We have a project we're bringing up that's focused on an all-female gaming tournament. So we're open to creative ideas. Nothing's ruled out until we have a chance to analyze it.
Roger. There's you've had Mike. Thank you for the question. You've had success penetrating the NFL with the partnerships of the Eagles and the Patriots. Are you considering entering the NHL, MLB, or NBA?
Well, yeah, absolutely. We have the LA Kings, which is the right over my head here. So we already have a premium brand in the NHL. We have several other conversations there. We have multiple conversations with NBA organizations. The NBA players and the team owners are very esports savvy. We have two Major League Soccer franchises. The only league that we don't have any discussions on. Well, actually, that's not true. We have one in Major League Baseball that we're talking to, trying to see if what the solution is. So yeah, we're pursuing all of them.
Okay, so let's keep going. Wow, we, we have a lot, you guys. Hold on. Um, someone is asking, what's a skin?
A skin. Think in terms of a 1970s taxi cab in New York where you had a medallion. A skin's a bit like that. The casinos were given a number of skins, a finite number. In New Jersey, I believe it's 3. And what that does, it gives the casino the right to lease the privilege to run an online casino or sports book in that state. So in the States, it's unique in all the world. It's a two-part process. You have to be approved by the regulator. You know, they do the background checks, make sure it's a credible operator, no bad actors, etc. Then you have to currently you have to acquire a skin. That's the second part of the process to be able to run an online site. We have both in New Jersey. As I, you know, our belief and hope is going forward for the Vi brand anyhow, that it will be uncoupled from that. With Sport Nation, Lucky Dino, that will always require a skin in states in the United States, with the exception of Tennessee, which does not have they have uncoupled being an online operator from land-based operators.
Okay, so for Tim, who has asked multiple questions, howdy, Tim. I would take it on the other side. If you can send them by email, I'll make sure that they get answer. Mr. Abati, when will you integrate tournament style wagering on the VIE platform? Also, will rewards be introduced similar to Sports Nation platform?
Yes, to both. The ViGG is, we're looking, and this is, the regulators they're calling the time horizon. We've done everything. We're like the race car in the gates waiting for the light to go green. We were originally hoping April, it could be May before that goes live. As soon as that does go live, what you see on Sport Nation, the rewards, etc., yes, we're going to be doing that. With terms of tournament play, well, that's on the EGL platform. The tournament platform and the gambling platform have to remain independent from each other. There's a regulatory requirement. Number one, on the tournament side, it's 18 and over. The gambling side is 21 and over. There can be we can cross market, but the two databases will never be merged. It's illegal.
And then final question from Robert, can you describe your plans for the integration of the acquisitions? Will they be maintained as separate business units? And are there buyout performance incentives that may impact the timing of full integration? Thank you for the questions, Robert.
With the brands that you see over my shoulder here, there is no immediate plan to change any of the names, because those are we'll call those those are the respective platforms. As we acquire additional sports books or casinos, they would be integrated onto the Sport Nation or onto the Lucky Dino platform. Same with Vi. If we acquire another esports betting platform, we would migrate those players onto the Vi platform. But the platforms you see there, those brands are our brands.
I see. Grant, thank you again. So look, I just got to preface this. There's probably going to be a lot of pissed off people. I mean, this is why I do what I do. I will try to answer every question that was given. I apologize. We ran out of time. Just email me at chris@ldmicro.com. Grant, where can we go to find out more information on the company?
Well, there's the corporate site, esportsentertainmentgroup.com. That's probably the best place for information. We put up all our releases up there. Our deck is up there. And that's also the best place to find the various contacts. Jeff at Esports Entertainment Group, he's the head of our strategy and IR, and is a former analyst himself, so he's a wealth of knowledge and can probably address 90+% of the questions coming in.
Excellent. So I know that Jeff and I are probably going to be on the ship list at least for the next 2 hours answering these questions. But look, it was a pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you again for your time and your energy. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Of course.